Okay, Lieutenant Miranda, can you give us an update on the investigation involving the crash that killed these two deputies and injured another one yesterday?
Uh, this investigation is still ongoing. Yesterday, our traffic homicide investigators were on scene past 8 o'clock. Yesterday, what consisted of interviews of people who watched this horrific accident develop, and also we are doing a lot of measurements. We had our drones up there. We had our multiple traffic homicide units. We had over 10 units there doing different type of investigative techniques and gathering information. At this time, the facts are that unfortunately she was on the center lane. The three deputies were off the roadway in the shoulder because one of their motorcycles were actually disabled at the time. Prior to, they were running radar and laser in that area. And unfortunately, when you drive a motorcycle, especially a police bike, they have two battery packs or sometimes even three because they have to run the lights, they have to run the computer, and it drains the battery very fast, especially when the motorcycle is off. And that's what happened to one of them. So they called a fourth motor man that was actually driving his patrol vehicle at the time to bring a battery pack to jumpstart that motorcycle. Unfortunately for that deputy that was on his way to aid these three deputies on the side of the road, he was just seconds away from when this impact happened. So he was coming westbound, turning around, made a U-turn, and that's when the accident had just occurred. So he was rendering aid to three of his fellow deputies at one time. So I know he's hurting today even more than he did yesterday because yesterday was just basically trauma and numbness of what just happened. So at this time, we don't have criminal charges. I know a lot of news outlets are keep asking, is there criminal charges or criminal charges? If there is criminal charges or any non-criminal charges, that will be part of the investigation. Traffic homicide investigations, like, and many other fatals, take approximately 120 days. Why? Because we have to do a lot of measurements. We have to sometimes download black boxes. And we also have to see at the time of the crash, do we suspect any type of criminal activity, such as a DUI, impairment? And yesterday, for example, none of that was suspected as far as the driver goes. The driver did cooperate on scene, did give us a blood sample for us to test. So that's something that we have to wait at least sometimes even 3 months to get those results back. So that's part of the investigation. As of this time, it can go from a careless driving citation, it can go to a reckless, or it could be manslaughter. We don't have those answers until all the evidence is discovered and is actually processed and put into that report. And we are working hand in hand with the state attorney to support us in whichever charges, non-criminal or criminal, we decide to go move forward with.
Can you talk briefly, Lieutenant, about how you would determine the speed of a vehicle that causes a crash like this?
There's multiple ways. I personally didn't do traffic homicide, but one of the things that we look at is if there's any skid marks on the roadway and the distance from where the vehicle, when you start seeing those skid marks to where the vehicle actually stopped or the impact that it caused. Sometimes when you see a vehicle, just to give you an insight or more, way when a vehicle, for example, wraps around a tree, and they call this terminology because literally the vehicle wraps around sometimes a tree, we see basically the damage from where the impact occurred all the way to the death that it caused. And we can do a measurement on that, and we can actually see, okay, this vehicle was traveling minimum 60 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour. That area where the accident occurred is the area that is 50 to 55 miles per hour. So that is something that we need to determine because if she was driving 50, 55 miles per hour, she was going within the speed limit or reasonable speed or 60 miles per hour plus five or minus 5 miles per hour. Versus if now we determine she was traveling 90 miles per hour and she caused this accident, now it will be something around the lines of negligence versus reckless or careless. So that's why charges are not filed right away because there's so many different type of exhibits and evidence that we need to collect prior to making that determination. Because when we charge somebody, per law, you have what's called a speedy trial. Once you make your first charge, then you only have about 7 days to close that case and basically speed up everything and have all your evidence submitted to the state attorney. So that's why we take a little bit longer to make those charges to be sure that we're accurate with our information.
Okay. Do, does a vehicle of the type that she was driving have a black box that you would be looking at that could tell you how fast the SUV was going?
It was a 2019 Jeep, and newer model vehicles do have a black box. However, black boxes, there is statute and law that sometimes the driver can give you consent, or we can have a warrant to actually obtain that black box. Now, that's up to the state attorney's office and what is it, the facts of the case in order for us to obtain that black box. I am unsure at this time if we have recovered that black box or we've gotten consent or permission from the state attorney to obtain it through a warrant.
And you don't know if that particular vehicle has a black box, is that right?
No, but majority of the vehicles, I would say from 2012 forward, 9 out of 10 have black boxes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I understand you wanted to speak briefly about the move over law and why that is so crucial that people adhere to that. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, fortunately, I feel like I'm talking about this almost every week with a different news outlet. Just last week, I gave a statement to another news outlet about the move over because we had a road ranger that was killed and 4 peers. And it was actually, again, move over. He was, doing his job, rendering services to a motorist that became disabled, and he was ran over by another vehicle who ran off the road. Unfortunately, yesterday, it's kind of the same thing. Move over in July of 2024 this year changed that not only does it has to be a law enforcement officer or a first responder, rescue, or wrecker, it also applies to the regular motorist on the side of the road. So for yourself, if you're driving your regular car and you pull over to the right or to the left of the interstate off the roadway, I, as a motorist on the road, should give you enough respect and room to take care of whatever needs you have on the side of the road. Therefore, I need to move over to the left or to the right. And if I'm unable to do that, because obviously a lot of people are driving like it's the Wild Wild West, and sometimes they don't even let you move over with your signal on. I ask everyone, and the law specifies that you need to reduce your speed 20 miles per hour below the posted speed. So if the speed limit is 55, you need to go 35 or below.
So if this driver had followed the move over law, these deputies might still be alive today. Is that right?
100%. And I just did a prior interview and I said accidents are 100% preventable when there's obviously no reason of, a tire blowout or something that is out of our control. But accidents like this that have nothing, no issues with the vehicle malfunction are 100% preventable. We need to be off our phones. We need to wear our seatbelts and pay attention to the road ahead of us. And if we see somebody on the right or to the left of us, regardless of what it is, we need to start moving over so they can have room to work on their vehicle or be in their vehicle for whatever reason.
If you don't move over, what's the penalty for that if you're caught?
In different counties, it's a traffic violation. It actually is 3 points on your driver's license. It's a moving violation, and it ranges from $150 to $180, depending on which area in Florida are you in.
Does a trooper have to, or law enforcement person have to witness that?
The move over?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the law enforcement has to witness it.
Okay. Just to wrap up, I think I know you've kind of touched on this, but do we know at this time how fast this driver was going who caused the crash?
We do not. We do not. There's something that's still being investigated, and it's a lot of math that those guys got to do.
Okay. And that may take, you said, like 3 months or so?
It depends if we obtain, for example, if we have to download a black box, that takes us a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and also all the calculations they have to do.
Okay. And you said you took a blood sample. How long before you would have the results of that?
3 to 6 months.
Okay. Okay, very good. You've been so helpful. I genuinely appreciate your calling me today so we could do that.
No problem, Al. You take care.
Okay, you too, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.